Yeah, I don't ever remember feeling like this. But I'm out here in these YouTube streets. So I want you to get your fingers.
I don't know what you're doing.
I want you to
right
get
now,
your mouse.
I want you to check me out.
And I want you to check me out.
Get ready to do this. It's the relationship rehab. Like, share, and subscribe. We coming at you live. So come on, let's take a ride. Then subscribe to United Guns of America. Just click that link and listen up to what I'm telling you. It's the relationship.
Click that link right now. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy Brian Revin, and I just want y'all to subscribe to my channel. You know what I'm saying? I want you to let me know what you think. I'm gonna talk about some things, you can talk about some things, and we can do our thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all about having a conversation, right? I mean, if we can't talk to each other, then, I mean, what are we really here for? I want y'all to be able to just come over to my channel, talk to me about what's going on with you, and I can tell you what's going on with me, and we can build some things. You know what I'm saying? That's all about growth, baby. So click that link, go ahead and swipe on your phone, whatever you gotta do. Share my content. It's just get me out here, baby. Cause we just talking, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I like doing what I'm doing because it's about the people. It's about us having a conversation with each other. It's about us discussing whatever needs to be discussed. And on these YouTube streets, this is the best place to do it, baby. Like, share, subscribe. That's right. Click the link. Click the link. Yeah. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's out here that's already subscribed. You know what I'm saying? Cause y'all ain't the first one, and y'all ain't the last one. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody that click the link, that click the share, and then subscribe to your boy. Cause we gon' blow this thing together, baby. Relationship rehabbing, United Guns of America. To the world, blow up, baby. Yeah. Click the link, baby. Click the link, baby. Yeah. Hey, I just want to send a shout out to all y'all. I love y'all. That's why I do this. It's for the love of us, baby. I appreciate all of y'all. Ooh, we gon' do this thing. We gon' do this thing right here, baby. Hey, look, if you at a computer right now, just go ahead and click your link. What else you got to lose, baby? Tell me what you think. Hit the comment section. You can jump on the live panel. We do it all here. That's what it's all about. So come holler at your boy. I've been doing this for years, but I just got onto this YouTube thing. So hey, let's see what it do and where it can go.
To United Guns of America. Just click the link and listen up to what I'm telling you.
There we go. Got my mic on. I said, welcome to yet another relationship rehab, and it's getting late. Yes, it's a late night. Why you gotta be here? Podcasting, laughing, teaching. But I will say this. I'm quite happy. And the reason why I'm happy is because the Green Bay Packers shit the bed and they've lost. Now I will say this. It was definitely I totally had a brain fart and missed the I missed all the football today. I completely forgot. I'm talking about I slept in, didn't really do nothing. I did some ironing today. And that was about it. Went and got some pizza for my wife because we got to drive all the way the fuck out to a far place to go get it. But I went and did that because I loves her so much. And I came back home and wasn't doing a damn thing. I wasn't doing shit. I was literally sitting here watching a movie. I just downloaded that Ray Donovan movie, and I was watching that and completely forgot about football. But anyway, my brother Easy called me and was like, hey, man, so I guess people going to be pretty upset that them Packers lost. I said, When he said the Packers lost, I said, what? I said the Packers lost? Now I'm gonna tell you, everybody knows that I hate Green Bay with a passion. But the fact that they lost such a close game and the way that they lost, this one hurt. Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just gonna say this. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers left the Packers. I wouldn't be surprised. Because he has lost 2 times in a row when he was supposed to be winning. And yeah, the Packers ain't shit. They just like the Bears. Y'all season ended the same way ours did. No Super Bowl. So there. Yep. Nah, Ashawn, all y'all motherfuckers that be in here talking about go, Pack, go. Down, 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 down. No, Pack, no. Huh? Down, 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 down. No, Pack, no. Shout out to my boy Lance, who's a Green Bay Fudge Packer. He loves the Packers. All you niggas that love the Packers, I just want to tell y'all this. Welcome back to a season where shit didn't work out. Welcome back where y'all talked a bunch of shit, but you got laughed out. Where you played and you hung around. You led the division, then you turned around and lost just like the Bears did. Lost just like the Bears did. Y'all really ain't shit. Y'all really ain't shit. Well, you tease us a lot, but we got you on the spot. Y'all are trash. Y'all are trash. Y'all are trash. Y'all are trash. Yes, y'all ain't shit neither. You at home with the rest of us. Gone fishing. Yes, indeed. So welcome home. Even Ray Charles can see that y'all Packers wasn't going to do shit. Ray Charles at the end when Robbie Gould, former Bear, kicked that game-winning field goal, Ray Charles was like, bye-bye love. Bye-bye happiness. Hello loneliness. I think y'all gonna die. There goes Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he just lost. He's going to get plenty of people fired, maybe even his boss. He just might leave the team and go somewhere else. But the Green Bay Packers, season's on the shelf. Bye, bye, Packers. Alrighty, I got that out my system. It's enough of that. But I just wanted to let y'all Packers know, yeah, y'all asses ain't shit neither. And y'all is home with the rest of us. Yes, so all is right. When the Bears don't win the Super Bowl, all is right with my season as long as the Packers don't win the Super Bowl. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. That's the only thing I've ever cared about in this life is that them Packers don't win the Super Bowl. And hey, they didn't. Thanks, Dale, for hitting the like. I appreciate you putting the message out there. All y'all can hit the like. I know it's a late show. And hey, I just had to do this. I really did. I had to do this show because I'm actually in a situation where I'm kind of ignorant, but to this topic. I'm kind of ignorant to this topic. And the reason why is because it's very difficult for me to disregard the logic part of it. So I guess what I'm getting stuck in this part of the conversation or discussion or whatever you want to call it is that I don't understand the disregard of the science and the logic. And it seems like to me like it's one of those situations where I believe that certain people or certain groups are trying to confuse or bring about confusion when it comes to gender just for the sake of confusion. Because when you have a problem, and I'll probably touch on this a few more times, but when you have a problem where you don't understand who you are, identity is a very, very, very important cornerstone to one's life, to one's being, to one's happiness, all of that. Your purpose, all of that. Your identity is very important. And it's not that you have to identify as someone or as something, but you need to know where you come from and what you're going to be based on your history. Your lineage plays a part in that. Now, yes, just because your daddy was a bricklayer don't mean you got to be a bricklayer. I'm not saying that, but you need to know where you come from so that you can know where you're going. If that's just one of the simplest ways to put it. It's like part of who I am is because of my history and my identity, who I identify with. My father, my family, my friends, those my associates, all of that stuff plays a part in my own gender. I mean, not in my gender, but in my makeup of who I am. And I think that when you're confusing people in that to where it's like, to me, there seems to be a blurring of the line. It's like you had these clearly defined lines, and y'all, it's like they're trying to forego science and logic to keep it blurry. And it's the biggest problem I have with that is the fact that with all of the blurring of the lines, they're trying to include and factor in the children into that. And I don't like that. That is the one thing, the one problem that I clearly can see that's happening that I do not like about this whole cisgender, pronoun, binary, non-binary, all of this stuff. The biggest problem that I have with it is that the involvement of children in it. I have always said you don't let children make adult decisions, and you don't put children in adult situations. And I think that this entire discussion is just that. It is just that. So I want to go ahead, and before we get started, we're going to go to my favorite part of the show, and then we're going to dive right in.
Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
That's right, baby. Talk to us. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and cue this up. Now, I didn't know, well, I still don't. I don't know who Matt Walsh is, but I must say, from me watching this, I only watched it once, he did a hell of a job debating and defending his point. I really must say. And to the other two people that were on this panel, it was really confusing to me that they weren't able, not the fact that I didn't understand what they were saying, because I didn't, but they were not able to clearly define their point of view. And that was kind of weird to me as well. But I want you guys to see it, and then we'll stop and I'll give my thoughts as we go through it. So without further ado, let's go.
I'm Addison.
And I'm Ethan.
We've been together for about
5 years.
And
Been
married
for 3 years.
I use they, them pronouns. Being non-binary just means that I just don't identify with the gender I was assigned at birth, and I don't identify exclusively with being a man or a woman. I'm something in between, outside of that binary.
My pronouns are he or they. I also identify as a non-binary. To me, being a non-binary means having the sense of freedom to explore my gender in whichever way I want. I don't have to perform or pretend to be someone I'm not. I can be my authentic self.
It's really important for us to share more information with people because people are curious and they want to understand, but sometimes they don't always have the opportunities to do that.
Now, I will say this. As adults, I am, well, let me preface this too. This is a thing for me to where, because I don't really understand, I'm trying to get a better understanding. I'm trying to really seek some understanding with this. However, I do have certain positions and certain points that I will make. I don't really care at who somebody identifies as. So if you say that, if you're a man, well, I'll say this. If you're a man and you want to live as a woman, you want to wear women's clothes, you want to wear makeup like a woman, I believe that you should be able to do that. That's what you want to do. Fine. My problem is when you want me to go along with your identity to say that you're something other than what you are biologically as, born as. That's from my understanding, just from history, from years and me growing up where I grew up, all of that. That's my thing. That is the position that I've taken with the whole gender thing. I think that no one should be able, I personally believe that you should not be able to legally change your gender. If you want to change your name, that's fine. If I'm a biologically a male and I want to live as a woman, dress as a woman, change my name to Rashida, whatever the case may be, in America, that's what you want to do, go ahead. However, my name being changed, right? And even if I feel rocking a goatee, but I'm living as a woman, so be it. To each his own. As an adult, to each his own. Do you, as the ratchets say, do you, boo boo? Go head on. And my thing would be, I'm not a woman, but I'm living as a woman. I go and my thing would be this. Hey, if when it comes to things like the bathroom, I need to go to a family bathroom. When all of that stuff plays out, if I look like a woman, if I go into a woman's bathroom, nobody gonna know unless I turn around in the toilet, because even in a woman's bathroom, they don't have stalls. They got toilets. So even if you want to do that, whatever, this is what it is if you look like that. But my thing is, when there are children and things like that involved, I ain't with it. I'm just not. So I'm not a person that's just saying you can't be. I'm just saying that you can't make me call you something that you are not. And I think that that's where all of this stuff starts to get really blurry, because you want me to call you something than what you are biologically different, what you were biologically born as, and you want to use pronouns that don't identify you as one or the other, using the pronouns of like they and us, and I don't understand that part. That's one of the biggest areas where I'm confused. So what they're doing here, like in this picture here, I don't know who's a man, I don't know who's a woman, but if that's how y'all want to live, that's fine. It's just that when you're saying that, hey, I gotta now call you they, or I can't call you ma'am or sir, whatever the case may be, however that comes about, if you want to be in a situation to where you have, just like the one on the left, has long hair and a beard. I don't know if that's a man, living as a woman, or I don't know if that's a woman living as a man. I don't know. So therefore, I would expect if I said, hello, I wouldn't say hello, sir, or hello, ma'am. I wouldn't say, I just say, hey, how you doing? All right, buddy. Hey, what's up? That's what I would do. I would keep it that way, because I wouldn't want to get into that. What is you? Is you is, or is you ain't a woman? Whatever the case may be. So it's like, and even the other way, I would say that person looks like a guy on the right. That's all I would say. So I wouldn't get off into that. And if I did get the him and the her mixed up or got it wrong, it's not a personal attack, and it's not a violent crime. It's just a simple misunderstanding, because I don't know. And the fact that I don't know and I took a guess, it should not be a crime for that. It just shouldn't. So we'll go ahead and let them go.
This is a hot topic.
Yes.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is it a good thing?
I guess because it creates dialogue and it invites conversation to learn about other people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are really confused about gender identity in these times, and it's good for us to have these conversations so people open their minds and relearn and unlearn to what we've been taught.
Right.
And like relearn and unlearn what we've been taught. And here's my thing. I don't understand who determines that. Who determines that? Who determines what I unlearn, and who determines what I relearn? That to me in itself is like, what? I don't get that. Like, how do you determine that? And that's my problem with a lot of this stuff. It's like the way that you want to live your life, long as you ain't physically hurting nobody else, I'm okay with that. And as long as you ain't doing nothing that involves children, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But to try to tell me what I need to unlearn and relearn, I think I'm going to have a little bit to say about that. You ain't just going to reprogram me. And you talking about such a small, and I mean, when you talk about just America alone, 325 million people, you're talking about a percentage of like 0.0001% that's trying to do this to affect 325 million people. I ain't with that.
Addison, many people think gender pronouns are exclusive to the LGBTQ plus community, but that's a misconception, true?
Yeah. Well, everybody has pronouns. Like, you may use he and him as your pronouns, right? I use they and them as my pronouns. We all may have a certain gender pronoun too, but I think it's important for people to understand.
And here's my thing. I want to take you right back. I just want to point this out. So she says she uses them.
People are really confused about gender identity in these times, and it's good for us to have these conversations so people open their minds and relearn and unlearn to what we've been taught.
Right. And Addison, many people think.
And when you look right there, what do you see? It looks like a person that's dressed as a man, and it looks like a person that's dressed as a woman. That's just what that looks like. Just sight on, just initial look. That's what it looks like from here. Now, the fact that he or they or him or they, I think that's what they said. They got a bearded lady, cross legs, green high heels. I would say that that's a person who is identifying as a woman or is identifying as feminine. Now, whether you have a penis or not, I don't give a fuck. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Your sexual organ don't come into play until somebody's getting in the bedroom together. Now, if we're in the bedroom, then I need to know what the hell that is. If we're getting involved romantically, I need to know what you got and what you don't get, what you was, what you is. I need to know that. But sight unseen, it looks like a guy and it looks like a lady. That's just what it is. So it's like, in my opinion, if someone were to say, well, ma'am, or well, sir, to those people, they should not be offended because of what you're carrying yourself as. You're trying to now make it to where the entire world would have to say, well, before I could say anything, what do you go as? What is you and what is you? I don't understand. So it's like there's a certain thing. It's like if I got on the uniform of a fireman, a firefighter, and somebody says, "Hey man, can you come help me? We got this fire, this garbage can is on fire. Can you give us a hand?" I'm not a fireman. How dare you accuse me or insinuate that I'm a fireman? Well, I mean, goddamn, man, you dress like one. It's that kind of thing. So it's like if you don't want to, it's like you can't avoid being identified as something one way or the other. You just can't. So it's like, and if you are trying to make it difficult for someone to identify you as a man or a woman, then now I kind of gotta second guess your motive. Are you trying to confuse? Are you trying to put me in a situation to where you're confused and you want everyone else to be? Is it for the attention? Is it for you? Who are you doing this for? Because who you say you are on the inside really should only matter to you. I'm just saying, who I say that I am on the inside really should only matter to me. People will say things about me. People will say things about you. People will say things about people no matter what, how they look, how they act, the way that they carry themselves, whatever the case may be. So if I'm secure in knowing who I am on the inside, do I really give a shit about what everybody else say? I'm just saying. If ain't nobody coming to put their hands on me, if ain't nobody, I mean, you're not invading my personal space. Do I really care to the point to where in some countries they're trying to make it to where if you don't address someone by the correct pronoun, it's a crime. Like you can go to jail. So just saying. But I was just giving you that picture. You're wearing the uniform of a man. You're wearing the uniform of a woman. Not to mention your body language as such.
Gender pronouns are exclusive to the LGBTQ plus community, but that's a misconception, true?
Yeah. Well, everybody has pronouns. Like, you may use he and him as your pronouns, right? I use they and them as my pronouns. We all may have a certain gender pronoun too, but I think it's important for people to understand that for trans and non-binary people, we often change our pronouns to reflect who we are when we come out and be who we are.
How do you explain the difference between sex and gender?
I consider sex to be our biological makeup. Our chromosomes or hormones, our genitals is a biological makeup. But our gender is more of an internal sense. So think of it like this. Sex is what's between the legs, and gender is what's between the ears, right?
And here's where I'm confused. If your gender, how is that between the ears? And then your sex is between your legs. If I have the parts of a male, then how would that be between my ears if I think that I'm a female, or if I feel, because all this is about feeling, if I feel that I'm a female, then which one do I go with? Which one do you think is more, I guess, defined? Because how you think can change. How you feel can change. However, how your gender and your sex, whatever between your legs, your private parts, your reproductive organs, that don't change. There could be a problem with my mind. There could be an issue with my mentality. But my DNA genetic makeup that has assigned a sex to me at, 3 months? Because they're trying to, and I don't understand why they keep saying, yeah, when you born, the gender you're assigned. No, you can determine the sex of a child at 3 months, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But
It's how we see ourselves on the inside.
Okay. And that's something somebody can't know. Gender is something somebody can't know just by looking at somebody.
Nope, yeah. Because everyone is going to present and express themselves in a different way. I know, it's very confusing, right?
Exactly. It is very confusing. Why would you do that? If you're so, and that's my thing, think about it like this. If you're so confident in what you're saying to be true and to be correct and is the right thing, why would it not be a simple form or a simple way of explaining it to where it could be understood? Why would it be so confusing for someone to express or to explain something that seems to be so easy? Like, if it's a no-brainer, it should be a no-brainer. And I think that's one of the things that's really confusing about this. It's like you're making this up kind of like as you go, because what people are saying now when it comes to this, as far as gender, cis, and all of that, whatever else goes along with it, they weren't saying that 20 years ago. This is 2022. They weren't saying that in 2000. They just weren't. So this is something that is constantly evolving, but yet and still you want everyone in society to change to what you guys are thinking about and come having ideas about. Say, maybe it's this. Maybe there's an infinite number of genders. I don't, and that's the part that I don't understand.
Everyone's like, what is going on? But it's really, about us breaking that assumption that we can tell someone's identity, someone's story, their pronouns, even their name.
Nobody cares about your story. They just don't. There's no way, it's humanly impossible for me to care about everyone's story. Only those that are closest to me, that are in my inner circle, my family, extended or not, or whatever, those are the ones that you would hope would care. But everyone doesn't know your story. And because everyone doesn't know your story, that does not mean everyone needs to know your story. Or, I'm going to say this, everybody may not want to know your story. And all of this now, it all comes back into feelings. How you feel, how I feel, what I've been through, that's all understandable. Everybody has their story. Everybody has their own life. But it's not a thing to where your life and your life story, I got to understand it and figure it out just because we work together. Just because we on the plane together. Or just because we're in society together, your story matters to me. It does not, and it should not. It really should not.
Just based on how they look, right?
If we don't use our visual, our sight, to make decisions, presumptions, and assumptions of whatever it is that's going on around us, we literally should all put on blinders and turn out the lights and just walk around blind. That's essentially what we should do. Everyone should just be blind, and that should be it. You're telling me not to use and trust my eyesight. Now, can looks be deceiving? Yes. But I should not feel bad for using my eyesight to determine and to make certain decisions and certain assumptions. If I see a truck coming towards me, and I see that the distance is closing on that truck coming at me, if I don't move, is it my fault or the truck's? That's essentially what they're saying. That's what I'm getting from this. And like I said, if I'm wrong, then please try to correct me and try to help me, but you got to do it with some facts. You can't just go off your feelings. If I see something that is coming towards me that could potentially harm me, I don't know, like maybe a bear or maybe a pack of wild monkeys, and they're coming towards me, and I just stand there. Well, it's wrong for monkeys to attack humans. And I just stand there and I get mauled. Whose fault is that? At what point do you have to understand and take responsibility in using his words or her words? At what point do you have to take responsibility for what you're presenting? At what point do you have to take responsibility for what it is that you are presenting? It's just like back when women used to talk about, don't talk to me and treat me like a hoe. I ain't nobody's hoe. Well, if you're wearing the uniform, bitch, I'm going to treat you as such. You standing on the corner with a micro mini skirt on, some fishnet stockings, chewing some gum, walking up the street, looking at all the cars that go by. What you gonna think that person there doing? I'm gonna think they there trying to look for a date. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be like, excuse me, ma'am, are you by chance the first lady of Zion Baptist? No. I'm gonna say, hey, look here, bitch. I need you to come and baptize this dick. That's what I might say. How much to baptize this dick, girl? I'm not gonna, because of the uniform that you're wearing. Just like how I was talking about the fireman. If I'm dressed as a police officer and you run up to me and say, officer, I need your help. How dare you? Why would you think that I'm an officer of the law? Well, you got on a gun belt, police hat, and a bulletproof vest. That still doesn't mean that I'm the police. You don't know if I've been sworn in. You don't know if I've passed the Coles test. You don't know that. How dare you just come and assume that I'm an officer of the law just because I'm wearing the uniform? So I shouldn't use my eyes to see something and make a determination from what I'm seeing. I shouldn't do that. Now, thank you, not sure. Now, it could turn out to say, well, look, I'm a stripper. I'm not the police. I'm sorry, man. I'm a stripper. I'm a dancer. I'm on my way to my gig, which is right up here at this door, at this house. That's what I'm doing. Oh, yeah, I'm going to audition for the Village People. But the fact that I made the assumption that this person thought that, the fact that they made the assumption that they thought I was a policeman, it's an accurate assumption. Not something where they were trying to offend me. They're not trying to insult me, but it is an accurate assumption. If you don't want people to assume things about you, then all you can try to do is try to stay out of that uniform. So if I'm a woman and I want to live my life as a man, I think I should probably stay out of dresses. And what I believe, what they're trying to do, they're trying to make it seem like whether you got on a dress or not, you should still be asking me, what is it that I am first? That makes no sense to me. I refuse to see a man in a dress and then try to figure out, well, what are you? What is you? I refuse to do that. That it makes no sense whatsoever because of how a person feels. If you're a man and you want to dress as a woman, I get it. If you look the part, you got on the costume, hey, I get it. But you can't make a gender the way to where I don't know and I can't ask, because if I ask, I could be doing the wrong thing. Right. And to Sonny's point, it's just like in the movie, God damn it, it's not Trading Places, but Beverly Hills Cop. Do you remember in Beverly Hills Cop when Axel Foley is at the strip club and he's in there with Taggart and Rosewood, and they're in the strip club and he's sitting and they're playing that nasty girl? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Tonight, don't you want to? And he like, hey, Taggart. He like, come over here. He say, hey. He got the music still going. He listen. He like, excuse me. He like, you see that guy that just came in here with that trench coat on? He's like, yeah. He's like, man, it's 90 degrees outside. Ain't that weird? Like, it's something to that. What is he supposed to think as a police officer? He could potentially just be a person who identifies as a coldling. Yes, a coldling. A person who believes that he's constantly cold, so therefore he wears winter clothing. 24/7. We should treat him as any other normal person in this world. We should not question his clothing. We should not make any assumptions about what he wears. However, the guy came in with that fucking trench coat on because he had a fucking shotgun under the coat because he was about to rob the place. Y'all remember that guy? That was Phil. Hey, Phil. Phil. Yeah, hey, Phil. You done changed, Phil. The guy was coming in to rob the place. Had he not, Officer Foley, had he not made that assumption to see a guy in the summer with a fucking trench coat on to say, nah, something ain't right about this guy. Let me go make some contact with him. Let me try to throw him off a little bit. Had he not done that, Phil would have robbed the whole damn place and could have killed a couple of people if he wanted to. That's all I'm saying. Third Corner Wheel said a teacher was fired for not meowing back to a child in class during roll call. He identified as a cat. If that's true, that's fucking insane. And I promise you that that's in a blue state. I promise. I know it is.
Yeah. And so how does someone ask? How does somebody clarify that? Ethan, what's the best way? What's the most comfortable way?
I think for me, to create a safe space for people to share their pronouns, I will say, "Hi, my name is Ethan. I use he or they pronouns. What about you?"
I think it's really important for us to recognize other people's pronouns because, again, we can't make that assumption. But for so many people who are cisgender, meaning that you do identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth, you're
And that's I don't agree with this. It's not the gender you were assigned at birth. And here's my other part to that. When the sex is determined for a fetus at, what is it, 3 months? When it's determined at 3 months, do you not realize that in the first trimester, you have some of the most core DNA decisions made with a fetus? Heartbeat. I mean, before you're talking about before the baby is fully developed, the gender is already assigned. It doesn't happen at birth. It don't happen once you come out the birth canal. Oh yeah, we can. Nope, motherfucker. I can get a sonogram and boom, there it is right there. There it is right there. And if you can't see that, I mean, these are basic. So, and I say that the fact that it happens so early on in the what do you call it? In the first, it happens so early on in the pregnancy that it's something that is fucking guaranteed. I mean, there is in anything else more defining than what you have to have in order to be born. In order to be born, all of the stuff that happens and takes place in the a child, what can be born at, I guess, 6 months or something like that. Whatever the case may be, however that premature shit happens, all of that shit that happens before you get to the point to where a fetus will survive outside of the womb. Gender is one of those things that's determined. Now, how that child feels, you have no clue because they don't even have the full brain capacity, and the full brain capacity is not even there to feel one way or the other about their sex. But it is determined before they have the ability to determine that they don't feel like they're a boy or girl. I ain't no fucking scientist. I'm just telling you what I know. I've been through 2 pregnancies with my wife. We got 2 wonderful kids. That girl and that boy that I had, we knew that before they got here. He do look like the Dr. Pepper guy. It's the sweet one. But I'm just saying, when you're talking about how important that is, if that's encoded into the DNA and developed before the 2nd or 3rd trimester, it's already developed. Come on, man. Come on. I mean, just think about that. How wrong could the science be with the biology of a baby with it being that determined that early on? It's not like the kid, and like if the kid was then born and then the kid came out and it was like a fucking Barbie doll or like a Ken doll and it was just smooth in the genital area. And then the kid waited until he turned 13 or she turned 13 or it turned 13 to go to the store and pick up purchase a genital pack from Walmart and just assign it themselves, depending on how they feel. That's one thing. That ain't how this goes. Before they can speak, before their fingers are fully developed, before they have full development of their body parts, that part is determined already. So I would say I would put more trust and I would put more of a belief in knowing that that's correct than what somebody's telling me how they feel after they've been born, and they 7, they 6, they 5. I would have more invested in what's assigned during the development stages of that fetus before it actually becomes a full-grown baby than what somebody's telling me they feel.
Not transgender, not non-binary, I think a lot of people don't even question their pronouns because we already use them and it's already assumed correctly. But for so many trans and non-binary people, that isn't often assumed correctly. So we need to take the time to get to know people.
Cisgender, it says adjective that describes a person whose gender identity matches or aligns.
Now, I still couldn't understand this, and I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna read it. I said when I saw it again, I said I'm gonna read it next time. So it says cisgender, Cisgender. It's an adjective, and it describes a person whose gender identity matches or aligns with the gender he or she was assigned at birth. Term can be abbreviated to cis. So cisgender means how most of us think. What you got at 3 months or 4 months, whatever that is. What is it, 16 weeks or something like that? Whatever that sex is, that can be determined by a sonogram and through the development stages, that's what that is. Now, transgender means described as a person whose gender identity does not match or align with the gender they were assigned at birth. Term can also be abbreviated as trans. So then that would mean that based on my, not based on my biology, but based on my mentality as to what sex I feel that I am or what gender I feel that I am, which in by that logic, that means it's subject to change. I could live the first 25 years of my life as a transgender male. Then I could live the next 25 years of my life as a cisgender male or female, whatever the case may be. And then I could live the next 25 years of my life as a transgender female. So I could literally flip-flop and go back and forth with my gender based on me being transgender. Now, non-binary, described as a person whose gender identity does not fit into the traditional binary of man or woman. Term can be abbreviated by NB. I don't understand that. Now that is where I was lost. That is where I said, wait, what? I was like, what? I did not understand that. I still don't get that. And it says gender identity does not fit into the traditional binary of man or woman. So that's saying traditional, meaning it's non-traditional. I could kind of sort of be a man, or I could kind of sort of be a woman, or I could be a woman man or a man woman. That's what I got from it. That's what I got from it. It was like, well, it's like if you got man and you got woman, I could be somewhere in between that where I'm like a man lady or I'm like a ladies man. I don't know. But that to me is a term that I really just can't understand because there is no defining characteristics of that. And you're pretty much just leaving it up to the person who says, whatever the fuck you want to do. That's all. And that's confusing to me. But I will say this. I think this is one of the things where it's confusing on purpose. Because if there's no real clear definition, then it's whatever. And I think that that's part of the thing to where, and one of the reasons why I think that the government is so on board with this current administration is that they want the confusion, because the more confused you are, then the more you're not worried about actual things that are happening that really do truly affect your day-to-day life. And that's just my opinion of it. But so do they have both body parts or no parts? It's not even parts related. This is just talking about the traditional binary of man and woman. This is saying that you ain't man, you ain't woman. You something in between that. Whichever way you want to kind of be, I'm like maybe 60-40 man woman, or I could be 70-30 woman man. That's what that's saying to me when they say NB. It's a thing to where you're in that man and woman is here and here, but I'm either about right here, not necessarily dead center. Well, I'm both, but I could be on either side of it, in between 3/4 of the way, like your gas tank. You know how you got your gas tank, you got empty and full. Well, I could be at a quarter tank, I could be at a half tank, I could be at a 3/4 tank, or I could be a full tank. Either one, I could be somewhere in between. And that to me is extremely confusing. And then you're trying to get kids to decide this? Are you fucking kidding me? That's borderline abuse, in my opinion.
With the gender he or she was assigned at birth. Now, this would be what has been traditional for centuries, right? Mm-hmm. Why does it need a term?
You know, if we don't use that term, then we end up saying maybe real men or normal men or regular men, right? Or we just say men, and then we say maybe transgender men, right? And the thing is that we need to realize that trans women are women. Trans men are men too.
Bullshit. Where my bullshit button? And I don't understand why it's just, I don't understand why women aren't upset at this. A woman is a woman. A man is a man. If you are one trying to be the other or one trying to live as the other, you are trans. But to say that a man is a woman, and because he feels he's a woman, that's not true. You can look the part, but if you ain't actually got the hardware, I'm sorry, you're not. You're not. You could be a hybrid at best, but you are not. And I don't understand why they are so intent on insisting on making it to where that is. That ain't true. That's not factual. Because if I can say that I'm a woman and I got male parts, even if I cut them off and I got male and I used to have male parts, I can't do what a woman does biologically. I'll never have a menstrual cycle. I will never have ovaries. I won't. I will never have the reproductive organs that a woman has. So why would I then try to make people say that I am a woman? No. That to me is where I really have a problem with that. Live the way you want to live because that's how you feel. But don't make me call you this because that's how you feel. If you want to wear the uniform, fine, I get it. But that don't make you that because you say it.
And so we just want to have a term for that privilege, that assumption that your gender identity is going to match the one that you were assigned at birth.
All right. And then transgender adjective describes a person whose gender identity does not match or align with the gender they were assigned at birth. And then non-binary describes a person whose gender identity does not fit into the traditional binary of man or woman. And that term can be abbreviated to, and how do you pronounce that?
NB.
NB.
NB, yeah.
Okay. And explain that.
For transgender people, we are assigned a sex at birth. And when we grow up, you know, when there's a mismatch of how we view ourselves and how society views us, then we can choose to, you know, either medically transition or just socially transition or both.
My name is Matt Walsh.
So here's to Mr. Maxwell's point. He says, anyone watch the video of how they turn a penis into a vagina? And my thing is, even when people have that surgery, they have to keep an apparatus inserted into that hole that they've made because the body naturally tries to close it. Facts. When a man has his penis removed and they do what is called a gender reassignment surgery, and they basically turn his penis into a vagina and take them parts out, the human being then has to keep a penis-like device inserted into that cavity, into that wound, because the human body will naturally try to close it up, which further bolsters my point of saying the science works. The body knows what the fuck it is. It's the mind that's having the problem. The body will physically try, and here's the thing, it won't do that with a woman. A vagina is pretty much an open wound. It's an opening in the body. However, if a woman does not have sex, if a woman is a virgin and never has sex, that wound is still there. It will still bleed every month until they've used up all their eggs. It will still lubricate itself. It will still clean itself. The body knows what it is. And I know there's some people that will see this and will throw out the infamous saying, what about hermaphrodites? They have both. That is the anomaly. That is the anomaly. Those that are born with two, that is the anomaly. They have both. Very, very small percentage. However, it's just that. It's an anomaly. But the human body knows what it is. Cut a man's penis off, and the body will still try to close that wound because it knows I'm not supposed to have a vagina. My DNA says this. Penis, right there. Line 38. In my genetic code, it says penis. That's what I'm supposed to have. So this opening down here, we need to close it. Hey, skin, close the fuck up down there. That's what happens. With a female, it'll never do that. It'll stay open for service. Whether somebody opens the doors and cuts the ribbon and go in or not, it's going to be open for service. It's going to be ready. It could be a little tight. It could be painful till it get warmed up and get loosened up. But the fact of the matter is, it will not try to close itself up. Because in that DNA code, line number 38 says, oh, it's a vagina. We keep this open for business just in case a penis comes to visit. That's science DNA. That's what it is. If I got a vagina, I'm a female. I'm a woman. If I have a penis, I'm a man. I'm a male. That's all I'm saying. That's the science of it. And for you to try to circumvent that and say, well, that does make sense, and I can't dispute that, but if I feel this way, fuck all that. That's essentially what I'm getting from this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of what the genetic DNA is, regardless of what you determine your sex is at 3 to 4 months throughout the pregnancy, once I'm born and once I'm old enough to have a mentality to decide one way or the other, fuck all the science, I is what I think I'm is. I don't agree with that.
I've written a book called Johnny the Walrus. This book is about identity and imagination. He identifies as a walrus, and his mom's a little silly. She takes it seriously and thinks he really is a walrus. So she went on her phone, and there are people telling her that this isn't pretend, he's really a walrus. And his mother takes him to the doctor to have him surgically transitioned and gets him walrus hormone pills, and then eventually tries to drop him off at a zoo to live with other walruses. Not only topping the Amazon charts, my book has taken the world by storm.
You're saying that there should be no construct of gender, just sex. You're either male or female.
Right.
And someone feeling in a mental, emotional way that they don't identify with the sex that they have been biologically created as and assigned at birth based on their genitalia. If they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the reality. So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production. You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. You know,
And I guess my thing is this. I understand what he's saying, and I understand how it could be difficult potentially for some people who may actually be struggling with this, who may actually have what they used to call gender dysphoria, but is now, they don't use that word anymore. I don't know why, but you could potentially be suffering from gender dysphoria. And if that's what you're suffering from, you could potentially be really like confused. So and I think that there is a small percentage of people, very small percentage, that are truly affected by that, and they really don't know. But I do believe that there's a bigger perception, a bigger group that are truly into the theater of it. The attention that you get of just standing out and being different. Sometimes, because you know, some people say it's not easy being gay. I would nobody in their right mind would ever pick being gay. Yeah, you would if it makes you the black sheep. Yeah, you would if it gets you that attention. Yeah, you would if it's so different that that's what you want to be because it gets you that different attention. Yeah, you could. You would. It's just like being in the and just to give you an example, it's just like the guy in the barbershop that regardless of what the conversation is in the barbershop, and men can attest to this, no matter what the conversation is in the barbershop, no matter what the facts that are being talked about in the barbershop, no matter how much everybody else is in agreement, there's always that one guy that's in the barbershop that's against it just for the sake of being against it. You could be talking about, and I'm not saying now there's some trivial things like when you're talking about basketball greatest of all time. You debating Michael Jordan, you debating Kobe Bryant, you debating LeBron James, you debating Bill Russell. Those are usually your foe, or you're debating Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those are usually your 5 or 6 people that's in that conversation. That's one thing. That's trivial. That's saying, hey, we talking about this, looking at that, whatever. But I mean, you could be talking about something as serious as cancer. And a dude would be like, man, I heard that the only reason why people get cancer is because of the phone lines. And everybody else could be talking about different stuff. And it's that one guy that's just going off into a tangent. Everybody could be in agreement to say, yeah, that 96 Bulls team was the best basketball team ever. And then it'll be a nigga from Detroit talking about, but what about the bad boys though? They had the Bulls number. It's like, dude, nobody ran that table like 72-10 did. Well, what about them dude, the Golden State Warriors? Boy, them Golden State Warriors, they to beat them Bulls. Bullshit. They're just some things that are not debatable. And it's like that's what I see in this. It's like you got this that attention you get from being that one guy. It could be 40 niggas in a barbershop going up against this one guy, and that one guy just sitting there just doing it. No, man. Them Detroit Pistons, man, Detroit, Isaiah Thomas, man, Zeke was cold, man. And everybody's like, man, get the fuck out of here. They was not better than the 72-10 Bulls. They just wasn't. People would say that about Golden State. Golden State was a great team, 73-9. Them niggas wasn't better than the Bulls. Why? Because they didn't win the championship. If they was that fucking great, they'd have won it all. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. That's a fact. Just like the Patriots. What was that? The 2008 or 2010 Patriots, whatever. When the motherfuckers lost one game, they didn't win a fucking championship. I don't give a fuck. They're not the greatest team of all time. I'm sorry. You can't tell me shit about somebody being the greatest or something and they didn't win that fucking championship that year. I don't want to hear it because someone beat you. So that means you weren't the greatest. You were not the best. Somebody had your number when it counted in them playoffs. Just what it is. That's just what it is. So I don't give people that, oh, well, yeah, you know, it is tough being gay, man. It's tough being trans, man. Nope. You choose to live that way. And I get it. You may be confused, may not be confused, and it may be a hard road to travel. It could be a tough road to hoe. Whatever the case may, a road to hoe. I get it. But people will choose that path because it puts them out to the side as an outcast, but it gives them the attention of being the outcast. When you're the only one that's like that, or the only few that's like that, you get a lot of attention. Ask RuPaul. Ask Liberace. Liberace could have been a straight dude playing that piano in a suit and would have been just fine. What he chose to be and what he chose to have as far as who he chose to sleep with, that's fine. But he chose to live the way he lived as far as his lifestyle, wearing the blinged out suits and all that shit. Elton John, same fucking way. And they perfectly fine with that. They embrace what it is that they were and what they wanted to be. Elton John making Benny and the Jets as a straight man, that shit would have been a fucking hit either way it went. The fact that he chose to live the way he wanted to live, that was his choice. It wasn't something where, you think I would choose to be gay as being Elton John? Elton John, like, I like dick. And I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to play this piano. And after I get through playing this piano, I'm going to go play this penis with my fingers and other orifices. That's what he liked. But there was an extra piece of attention that he was able to garner because he lived a different lifestyle. Some people lived that same lifestyle, but they did not live it out front and on stage like he did. Just saying.
It's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant. And whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. It makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
Great point. So
you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional.
Yeah, I think it's delusion. It could be mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things. With children, wow. You know, there's also just a basic confusion that all kids have. Like that's why when you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now, and so that's what I'm gonna raise him as a girl." No, you're a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question: what is a girl? Ask him what he means by that. What do you mean by girl? And when you ask him that, here's what he'll tell you. He will tell you what he really means is that he wants to do some of the things that girls do, like play with the dollhouse, or you know, he likes the color pink. That's fine. Play with the dollhouse, but you're still a boy. That's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel. Actually, because just like
Did you hear what he said? Let's go back to that one. I got to go back to that again. Just listen to what he said.
They have been biologically created as and assigned at birth based on their genitalia. If they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the reality. So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production. You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. You know, it's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant. And whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. It Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
So you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional.
Yeah, I think it's delusion. It could be mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things. With children, there's also just a basic confusion that all kids have. Like that's why when you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now, and so that's what I'm gonna raise him as a girl." No, you're a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Ask him what he means by that. What do you mean by girl? And when you ask him that, here's what he'll tell you.
Great point.
He will tell you what he really means is that he wants to do some of the things that girls do, like play with the dollhouse, or he likes the color pink. That's fine. Play with the dollhouse.
And that's what. And my thing is this: if there are people that are so concerned about a child making that decision, why would you not go that far to find out what that kid is saying before you go off and actually make a life-changing decision for this kid or assist this kid in making a life-changing decision? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you want to vet that out and figure it out and say, if my child came to me at 8 years old and says, "Daddy, I want to be a boy," my first question would be, well, what does that mean, sweetheart? And if she tells me I want to live my life as a man and I'd be like, okay, I tell you what, sweetheart, you can make that choice when you become an adult. Until then, you is what the fuck I say you is. No, I'm just saying, but until then, I'm not going to allow you to make that decision. Well, why not, Daddy? I know what I want. Yeah, but you're a child. That can change. And I'm not going to give you beta blockers and give you all of this shit and give you hormones and all that kind of stuff. And then 2 months later, 2 weeks later, 2 years later, you want to change back. We're not going to do that. You say that you are fine. That's, well, I want to live as a boy. Well, here's my thing. Number one, you're my child. Number two, sex is not even going to be a part of your life until you are an adult. So until you become an adult, you're going to stay where you at. You is what I say you is. And once you get to that, you is what your body say you is. And once you get to that point to where your mind is an adult and you think for yourself and take care of yourself and you live on your own and you want to live as a man, have at it. Do your thing. Get out how you live. But I'm not going to let my child make a decision that's an adult decision. That is an adult decision. That MTV show, I think it was MTV or VH1, whichever it was, where they took that young boy and made him into a girl, in my opinion, child abuse. And the fact that MTV or VH1, whichever one did it, exploited that shit, it's a goddamn shame. That, to me, was criminal.
But you're still a boy. And that's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel, actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl, well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
Watch this.
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well,
how
that's
do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's.
And there it is for
here's
me.
The thing, when you're female.
There it is for me. When you're talking about making it simple, making it plain, and just saying what it is, what he said, well, can you tell me what a woman is? No, I can't. Because womanhood, wait, why are we getting into womanhood? We're just talking about a woman. Can you tell me what a woman is? He can't. And when he asked the same question to him, and this is what I would expect for somebody who's trying to get me to unlearn and to relearn, I would say this: you got to be able to define it for me. They can't even define it. Him, they, or them. They can't define it. So my thing would be, okay, well, you asked me to define it. I sure can. What's a woman? An adult female who was born as a female.
Female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA.
You define a woman as.
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well,
how
that's
do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing, when you're...
So, I mean, in my opinion, that's basic, simple, and plain. Clearly defined. A human with female reproductive organs, that's an adult. An adult human with female reproductive organs. That means they got ovaries and a cervix. That's what it is. That's a woman. A man would be a human adult with male reproductive organs, a penis and testicles. Vas deferens, who was born with that, and that was determined before they came out the motherfucking slide, the birthing canal. When they came out of the uterus, bam, there it is. That's what you got.
When you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
Bam. Outstanding concrete solid point number 2. It is in their DNA. Without a brain, without blood, just bones alone, we can determine what that sex was. It is encoded into his own line 38. I'm just making up that 38. Line 38 of the DNA code. It's there. We can determine that if you've been dead for 6 hours or if you've been dead for 60 years. We can tell. We can determine that. 100% accuracy. We can determine if you are male or female based on your DNA. Why would somebody want to confuse that or change that or make that or try to unlearn or try to relearn or to try to make me believe that that is not factual evidence because you're talking about how I feel?
So I'm trying to understand. Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Is a biological female.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? Cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, but maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce.
Reproduction does not make you a woman. Having the organs or the hardware to reproduce, whether that hardware works or whether it doesn't, that would determine your sex. What percentage of women are born not able to reproduce that have reproductive organs? Whatever that percentage is, that's what you would call an anomaly. Now, you can even determine that, hey, due to this particular exposure to these chemicals or due to this particular exposure to this, or that could be the reason why you have it, just like when you have cancer clusters. Certain women lose the ability to reproduce because of what they've been exposed to, what chemicals they've been exposed to, because of what's been exposed to them in their living environment. That makes sense. However, they are born with those reproductive organs. Because even at some point, for a woman who is a cis woman, at some point, those reproductive organs will stop working. She can't give birth at 65 or 70. And even though there are some women that have done that, they are considered anomalies. They are. There are some women who, she gave birth at 70 years old. That's not common. That's an anomaly. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. That's exactly what you call that woman that can't have children. She does have the hardware though. She was born with that hardware. Here's my thing. If a woman had a phallus or a fake penis attached surgically to their body, it was sewn into their pelvis area, would you call that woman a man? Would you call that person a man? They got the organ. It's plastic, but it's there. No. No, you wouldn't. Facial hair and all. Bald fade and all. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do it. But you could even say a man who has a micro penis still has the equipment. He still has the equipment. It may be small, but he has it. That's all we're saying. We're not trying to overcomplicate this and make this and blur the lines and bring in all this gray. Black and white, that's it. A woman who wears a strap on is not a man. She has the fake equipment. Some women would probably prefer a large dildo over a micro penis. They may prefer that. It may be more pleasing to them to have an 11-inch dildo over a 3-inch micro penis. But that's still a man, 3-inch micro penis and all, and that's still a woman, 11-inch dildo and all. That's just the fact of it. You cannot change that. Now, how those two people decide to live their lives, completely up to them. That man with the micro penis could live his life as a woman and say, yep, I'm a woman or whatever. That's how I'm going to live. Fine. But you were born a man. That's what you is. You just living as a woman. That woman who's wearing that strap on could take all the Facebook pictures she want with the gray sweatpants on, showing that dick imprint, and all the women could love it. But at the end of the day, she got a cycle just like that bitch she with do. I'm just telling you. And my thing is, if I was to have a woman who wears a strap on tell me that they're just like me, I'm gonna say, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Let's go to this folks meeting and go and take this circle up and see who gonna get this violation. Let's see who take this violation the best. Let's go down here on this train. Let's go on this L station and get jumped on and see who throw them hands the best. Just saying. Let's get this tire out this trunk and let's change this flat tire with the old school bumper jack and see who gonna change that tire the best. That's just what it is. Me personally, I'm not gonna give you that. You could be a lady acting like a dude. I get it. But I'm not gonna say that you're me and we are the same. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. And the same thing with a woman. You got some big swole ass dude walking around with a fucking wig on, trying to be like you with your all natural. Then went and had a BBL so he can try to have ass like you, but you all natural. Trying to get some fake titties, but yours are real because you all natural, trying to be just like you. I get it. Some niggas might like that. Some niggas might like you. And that's fine. If that dude can find another dude to lay up with, that's going to treat him like the queen he is. Kween. Fine. But that does not make them the same. They are not. They may live the same lifestyle. They may live as the same, but they are not biologically the same thing. Because she is going to have a period in every 28 days, and that nigga ain't going to have nothing. That's just what it is.
Maybe it doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not
But
myself.
you used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right? So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Women.
Oh, I do not define what a woman is because I don't identify as a woman. So in order for me to define what a woman is, I have to actually be a woman. So does that mean I can't tell you what a giraffe is because I have not lived as a giraffe? I can't tell you that that's a lion because I have not lived as that lion. I can't tell you that that's a roach because I have not lived as a roach. I can't tell you that's a rat because I have not lived as a rat. I have not identified as a rat. In that case, I can't tell you that that's a fucking airplane because I have not lived as an airplane. Do you see how far off into the weeds that this can get? I could say I'm a fucking pterodactyl. And you can't tell me that I'm not. Why? Because you have not lived or identified as a pterodactyl.
Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
That describes what?
people who identify as a woman.
Shout out to Billy. And shout out to Billy Gold who hit your boy on the cash app with 375. Come on, y'all. Hit that. Hit that cash app.
As what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently.
That doesn't,
and so
I'm not
trans
asking for
women are.
Okay, then by that logic, it would be safe to say that over the past, I don't know how many hundreds of years, we've already done that. We've already done that. And if we've already done that, then why do you feel the need to come along and redo it? Right, because he said, I can't tell you a cat. I can't tell you a cat has an ass because I've never been a cat. It's like that's if you are if he's trying if he, she, they, it, we, the if they're trying to say that you get to identify that, then everybody has. Everybody has. We've picked sides centuries ago. Since the beginning. Whatever that is. Whether you believe it was done by, what do they call it, by the Big Bang Theory, or whether sweet baby Jesus, Daddy Almighty, Lord Almighty did it. It has been determined already. Why would y'all try to redetermine what's already been determined? That's like saying we need to change what we call water. When we've scientifically defined it, it's H2O. It's made up of these two elements, these molecules. This is what it is, H2O. Shout out to April Jones. Thank you for hitting that cash app. Hey, live. We've already defined what water is. We've scientifically proven what water is. So why would we now try to call water syrup? Oh, look at that big body of syrup out there. That is just amazing. Why are you trying to redefine something that's already been defined, that's been established for centuries? And you have no science to it. You have no true way to define it. You're literally trying to say everybody get to make up whatever the fuck they want to make up. So essentially, if there's 325 million people in America, there could potentially be 325 million different genders. All I got to say is how, Sway? How?
Women too.
Okay.
Let me take that back a little
Includes
bit.
people
That
who
describes what?
people who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently.
That doesn't-
And so
I'm not
trans
asking for
women are women too.
Okay.
And they're clapping for what? That's my that was to me. I was like, well, what? Why are they clapping for that? Like, he literally made no point. Each person gets to determine their gender, and that could be subject to change throughout their life. So we're clapping because that's what we want everyone to be able to do. I mean, there's where could you get to that? Where would it would never be defined. It would literally be confusion amongst genders forever.
And you want to hold on.
Say it again. Trans
You
women
want
are
to
women.
reduce.
What you
listen,
won't
listen.
even tell me
you
what the
want to
word
reduce,
means, though. So
you
that's
want to
the
reduce
problem.
women. You want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals,
No.
our chromosomes, right? That's what you're
What
saying.
you want to
that
do is
that's what we are at the end of
what
the
you
day.
want to do is appropriate women. You want to appropriate womanhood.
Okay.
And turn it into basically a costume that could be worn.
Exactly. You want to make it seem like, oh, let's see. I could be a dude today, but I got that thing at 6:00, and I don't want to have to come back and change because I know I'm gonna be a woman then. So I could take my woman with me, and then I could just wear my man to work. And then after I get off, I could just change at work, and then I'll just be a woman. I could be a woman by 6. Yeah, I'll just take them both. That's essentially what she's saying. You can just put it on and take it off. Whenever. Not for a lifetime. Not for, this month. Whenever. However. I can be one thing at 1 hour today, and I can be something else at another hour today. Depending on what I say. Because I get to determine that. And I get to identify whatever it is I want to identify at whenever I want to. And yes, Mr. Starboy, that would apply for race as well. Yep, because they're also saying people can identify as pedophiles. They're saying you can be born a pedo now. They're trying to do it so that they can say, hey, I can do anything I want because what I was at that time, I was a pedophile. But I don't identify as that anymore. So when I was sleeping with those babies, that's because that's what I chose to be. It was my identity. In my mind, I was 8. Just like how they did it with the age. You could be 72 but identify as a 21-year-old. So if I'm doing that, then I would have the rights and privileges of a 21-year-old. If I'm 35 and I'm identifying as a 7-year-old, and if I'm sleeping with a 7-year-old, do I go to jail? Not by the law. Do you see where they're going with this? They're trying to make this shit so convoluted. They're trying to muddy the waters to the point to where it's a present day Babylon where anything goes. I can do whatever. I can do whoever. I can do what to whoever. All I gotta do is pick the right costume to do it in. That's it. That's exactly, and that's from my opinion, that's exactly what the end game is. To get to the point to where I can be anything I want to be and no one can say anything to me about it. No one can charge me with it, with anything, because I identify as this at that time. I don't identify as that anymore, and don't address me as that anymore.
I'm really concerned about what's going on in schoolrooms across the country.
The entire gender pronoun situation makes me feel very upset.
People may think that if you don't want to use the preferred pronouns, that you're against gay people. This is 100% untrue. I am a huge advocate for gay people, trans people, and the like.
Stacy and I both have children in the same school district.
I learned that the teachers in my children's school were asking for the kids' preferred pronouns in the classroom. When I heard about this, it was extremely upsetting.
Last year, my son was given a homework assignment that gave an example of a child not identifying with the gender that they're born with. This is an example of a homework that was given to my 8-year-old son. If a student is unsure of their place in the gender spectrum, or is experimenting with different forms of gender presentation, school uniforms can present a real challenge.
Oh my gosh. What is gender spectrum?
And here's where I'm steadily saying this. It's all a game to keep everybody confused. So there's no defining lines. There's no clear definition. If I get to let a kid, if I can identify as an 8-year-old, why can't a kid identify as an 18-year-old? Why can't a kid identify as a consenting adult if I can identify as a minor? Here's my thing. Why would you even want a kid to be able to do that? Why would you want to give a child the freedom to do that? Why would you want to put a child in an adult situation unless you want to take advantage of that child? If they're trying to talk about gender and what they want to be called and what their pronouns are, and they don't even know it, why are we teaching it in our schools? Why are we having children being asked that? Because they want to have them just as confused as children, so they'll be even more confused as adults. That's just what it is. Anything that you do to try to influence children, it is to influence them as adults. Children are put in school to be indoctrinated with our way of life in school. That's why it's done. That's it. And when you have children making adult decisions, this is what you're going to get. And all they're trying to do is make it a two-way street. So when they see that 58-year-old man with a 12-year-old, that 12-year-old can then say, yeah, I don't identify as a 12-year-old. I identify as a 24-year-old male. And I'm gay, and that's why I'm sleeping with this 55-year-old man. I can do what I want. He takes care of me, and I take care of him, and we're together. That's what you're going to get to. That's where they want to get this to where you can say whatever it is you want to say and be whatever it is you want to be just by using those terms, those words. I identify as blah, 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 blah. I can change my age. I can change my sex. And like I said, by that logic, I'll be able to change my race. But you're black. Nope. I identify as Latino. In my mind, I feel like I'm Latin. So there it is. And here's the thing. When you have people like Dr. fucking Phil, who is a fucking psychiatrist or psychologist. It might be both. Psychiatrists can assign prescriptions. Psychologists, they can't. I think that's the difference. I think this motherfucker's a psychiatrist. This motherfucker can give you a script. But my thing is, when you have people like this having this discussion and he's not even weighing in, and that's what seemed really odd to me, for him to say, well, what the fuck? Well, here's what we know, and here's what the facts are. He never once said that. He's just literally asking, like, so what you say? Oh, okay. And what do you say? Oh, okay. That's all he did. That's all he did. It's like when you have people that are doing that and nobody's saying it, then that's what they're trying to get to. They helping the game. They're basically putting it out there so that people can be just as confused as the people that's telling this shit and getting people to believe it. You gonna learn and unlearn and relearn what you learned, then that's why you relearn it and unlearn it. You see? If I say so, if I can say anything and it's okay, as long as I put a fake fucking laugh behind it and say, well, you know, shout out to Mr. Maxwell. Appreciate it, man. Hit your boy with the 25 bucks. What's up? Thank you so much. And shout out to April Jones. Hit your boy with $5. Thank you, April Jones. But that's what I'm saying. When you have people just saying anything and because they laugh with it or say it hurts them or it's hurting their feelings, if you disagree with them or if you don't agree with them or you're phobic, if you don't, that's bullshit.
That's a great question. My son was really confused. I feel like I'm ambushed because now I'm explaining to my son. He asked me, what does sexist mean? As a parent, I felt trapped. I felt I had to explain these concepts to my son. I felt like I was whittling away his innocence. This year, my 12-year-old daughter had a science teacher ask the class about their preferred gender pronouns.
I don't want a teacher talking to my child about gender pronouns. It is not appropriate. It's crossing a line. It's unacceptable. This is a parent-child issue, not a teacher-child issue. I wanted my kids to have nothing to do with it. I had to pull both of my kids out of this school district.
I've decided not to pull my children out of the school district, but I'm fighting for change. I've been attending school board meetings for about a year now.
Hey.
What's happening across the country is teachers could get fired if they use the wrong gender pronoun. That just seems wrong.
This is my mission in life, to protect my children, and however I need to do that, I will. What Matt and I and a group of us are doing is we're working to have the school board removed completely. A lot of people I know, a lot of parents I know, are afraid to speak up, and I speak for them, and I'm not afraid.
Arlo, how old is the baby now?
Oh, Sparrow's actually going to be 4 in February.
Has Sparrow decided as...
Oh, a gender?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Sparrow is in a point.
Just read that. Arlo, that's this person's name, did not assign a 3-year-old child gender at birth. I can guarantee you that that kid there is just destined to be fucked up in the head, and it's not gonna be the Sparrow's fault. It's gonna be at the behest of Arlo. Arlo is gonna intentionally fuck that kid's head up.
Of learning and exploration with a lot of things, including gender. Language with children at 4 is very, they're figuring it out. And so currently Sparrow uses he for everyone. No, it doesn't matter what their pronouns are, and we've mentioned it. They just call everyone he, rather they don't conjugate it correctly. They don't use him or his or anything. Just he for everything. So we joke that he is Sparrow's preferred pronoun because that's what they use for everyone. As far as for themselves, though, they're not coming consistently saying, "I would like, I want to be a boy or a girl," or "I feel like I'm non-binary." We don't have heavy, in-depth, overt communications. It's not like every morning I wake them up and say, "All right, what's your gender today?" hoping they'll finally give me an answer. So it doesn't come up like that.
Okay.
I have no words. I have no words. You're talking about just, you want to complicate some shit for a kid? Send your child to the school of Arlo. to Arlo University School for Children. Why would you even put your kid in a situation to where they're going to be faced with that? Not to mention the fact that who they're looking at every day as a blueprint, and how they're going to factor that shit in when they do become an adult, or when they do become of age where they have to choose. What are they going to have to look for as far as the blueprint? Damn it, I didn't try to do that. Shit. There we go.
These for everyone. As far as for themselves, though, they're not coming consistently saying, I would like, I want to be a boy or a girl, or I feel like I'm non-binary. We don't have.
And here's my thing. Why would Arlo choose there for their child? Why would he choose that then? Why would she choose it? Whatever the fuck he is, why would you choose that for your child then? Oh, my child hasn't chosen yet, but I'm going to choose there for them. I'm going to refer to them as there. Why would you do that? Why would you not just say, okay, well, until young Arlo or Sparrow makes this choice, I'm going to just stick with what the DNA says. And if Arlo and Sparrow wants to change it later, fine. But me, Arlo, being the parent, being the responsible adult in this situation, I'm going to just go with what the DNA says and just say, hey, so when Sparrow asks me, well, Arlo, whatever I'm called, why did you make me a boy or a girl on my birth certificate? I can give a clear, defined, well thought out answer of saying, well, the reason why is because of what your DNA said. That's what I put down. You can change it if you want, but this is what I put down. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call my child there and fuck their head up even more. And when they're at one of the most crucial points in their life, when they're trying to when they're trying to figure out their identity and who they are, I'm going to add that little bit of sprinkle of we don't have shit down for you no way, so you can just pick whatever. Hit the color wheel, spin the wheel, and pick whatever you want to pick. And if you want to change it tomorrow, great. If you want to change it 6 months from now, great. If you want to change it 6 years from now, great. But whatever you want to do is what we're going to do.
Heavy, in-depth, like overt communications.
It's irresponsible,
like every morning
man.
I wake them up and say, all right, what's your gender today? Hoping they'll finally give me an answer. So it doesn't come up like that.
Okay, you decided this was...
And I'm going to tell you like this, perfectly imperfect. They confuse you. I have to agree. They're confusing them now so that they can take advantage of them later. That's just what it is, man. Say it what people can say all the shit they want to say. You only confusing that kid right now so that you can take advantage of them later or even as a child. It's all manipulation so that these motherfuckers can do what they want to do to these kids. And so when they are adults, they'll be even more fucked up. Therefore, they'll raise fucked up kids too. And that's what you're going to get to, where you're going to have 65-year-old men marrying 8-year-olds. That's where they're going. You're going to have it to where you're going to have 65-year-old women marrying female 7-year-olds. That's where they're going to get this shit too. We can do whatever. We can be with whoever. We can lay with whoever. And all we got to do is say, I identify as. Fill in the fucking blank.
It's important to leave unspecified, undetermined. Why?
Because of the fact that gender is so social and it is such a social construct. Now, we say we shouldn't interact with one another differently because of our genders. Like, everyone deserves the same respect and treatment. But it has been scientifically proven that children are interacted with very differently based on whether they are assumed to be a boy or a girl. Girl children are held more, boy children are given, mechanical toys more often, all of these kind of example anecdotes. And I felt it was important for
And there it is.
Sparrow to get the chance to figure themselves out without all of that pressure, intervention, and programming.
Seems like...
So I'm going to program them my way. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to program them my way instead of the way that society is programmed. That's all essentially you're doing. And that's why I'm saying they're not saving these kids. They're not doing this to make these kids better. They're literally on a fucking power trip to manipulate these fucking kids. That's it. Chris Vanakin says, I wonder if this kind of confusion is happening in private sector of academia. Well, here's the thing about private schools is that they have a lot of control over what these kids are being taught and what the curriculum is because they pay them top dollar for it. Those private schools are all about giving my kid the best possible education so that they can have the most opportunity and the most options in the world. When they get out in the world, they're prepared and they are prepared to take on the world. That's what they're doing in a private school. They're not caught up into this. Well, we got gender assignment classes and courses now for the kids. They're not doing that shit. Teach my kid fucking financial literacy. Teach my kid fucking calculus. Teach my kid the top-notch shit out here in the world. So when they step out these doors, they're fucking ready. That's what that is.
We should just keep the dialogue going and hopefully find some middle ground.
I have a question. Arlo, you mentioned that you don't have your child discussing pronouns or figuring out their pronouns yet. And yet in school, our kids are being asked what their pronoun is. I'm confused about how that works. And then there's always this fluidity right around what pronoun you are each day. So it's constantly changing. How confusing.
I think
for
what it
kids.
is. Oh, sorry. I think what it is that I sympathize with the hurt and distress that I sense from you all. I also wouldn't want my child to learn things from their teachers at school that were topics I was uncomfortable with or I didn't know how I'd want to talk about them. Your children are going to need to know how to navigate a world in which non-binary and transgender people exist.
No, the fuck they shouldn't. That's not their job. That is not our job to try to figure that out. However you want to live your life is fine, but you're trying to make me be concerned about you and how you want to live your life, and you're not even sure. That makes no sense whatsoever. And just like she said, well, I wouldn't want my teachers, talking to my kids about that too, but they are. And that's why I'm getting back to this point, and I'm steadily driving this shit home. The only reason I'm going to confuse you and fuck your head up is so I can manipulate you. I guess the only other way I could really explain it to you, it's like a pimp. A pimp goes after a damaged woman. Period. A pimp does not want a woman or will not go after or try to turn out a woman that is stable in her right mind and got all her faculties and doing her thing and living her life. No, a pimp wants the abused, broken, low self-esteem, drug addicted, whatever the fuck, however the more fucked up you are, it makes it easier for me to manipulate you, therefore pimp you out. That's it. So that's what they're doing. They are preparing these children to be pimped. I gotta fuck you up when you little, so you'll be fucked up as an adult. Therefore, I can manipulate you. That's it. That's it, and that's all. Because if you're not sure and you're not confident in who you are, if you don't know where you are, where you come from, what you want to do, those things that you don't know, if I can show you any kind of stability in that, in what I am, you gonna gravitate towards me and I can actually control you. Just like a bitch who don't know shit, broke as fuck, ain't got no money, she's a victim. And she got to go with whoever can provide for her natural resources. The basic resources. Food, clothing, and shelter. If I don't know how to get that and secure that as a woman, I got to go with whoever the fuck can give it to me. Because if not, I will die. I will live on the streets and I will eventually die. That's just what it is. That's why I'm so intentional on my daughter, knowing I'm planting the seeds on what my daughter gonna do with her life right now at 8 years old. I was doing it when she was 4. I tell the story all the time of how my daughter came out of daycare one day and was like, "Daddy, I want to be a teacher when I grow up." I said, "Nope, you can't do that." "Why not?" "Teachers don't make enough money, sweetheart." And you know what she turned around and asked? "Well, then what can I be?" I said, "You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, or you can be any other thing that's going to allow you to make a good living for yourself so that you will be able to live the best life you possibly can, and finances will not be the problem for you." Oh, today we were talking about my daughter and what she was going to be. And I said, "Do you remember when I said my daughter was saying that she was telling me about going on vacation?" And she was like, "Yeah, Dad, I want to go on a cruise again." And I said, "Well, sweetheart, this is exactly why you need to be a doctor or a lawyer." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because cruises and vacations and having nice cars and trucks like mommy and daddy have." She said, "Yeah." I said, "That costs money. And that's why you need to be able to make money. And that's why you need to be able to have a job that gives you a lot of money so that you can ultimately do the things that you really love to do." She said, "Daddy, my teacher," she said, "the kids in our class asked our teacher how much money she makes as a teacher. And the teacher told us she makes just enough to pay her bills." I said, "That's right. And that's why you can't be a teacher, because you want to do more in life than just pay your bills." I said, "You want to go places, don't you?" "Yes." I said, "You want to have nice things, don't you?" "Yes." I said, "Exactly. You can't be a teacher having those nice things." I said, "If you want to be a teacher, that means you'll have just enough money to stay in a nice small house and to be able to pay your bills, like your phone bill and your cable bill, and have internet." I said, "You want to be more than that?" "Yes." I said, "Then that's why you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, sweetheart." "Okay, good to go. Ask my daughter right now what you going to be. She going to tell you, I'm going to be a doctor." She wants to be a doctor. Damn right.
This is a great conversation to have at home, out of the school. This should not be part of the curriculum.
We're out of time, but I thank everyone for your thoughts and ideas and for remaining civil about the conversation.
The dispute over gender pronouns.
I don't identify exclusively with being a man or a woman.
I use they and them as my pronouns.
You don't get your own pronouns.
You think it's a delusion.
In school, our kids are being asked what their pronoun is.
This is a war on gender.
New Dr. Phil. Check your local listings.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what.
There's the extreme approach that you are admittedly taking. And then there's also just ordinary people that might not be comfortable with the language change. And it just is awkward. And so they're afraid of not being courteous or being accepting. So there's like these two things. There's actually combating and not being, you don't like transgender, the idea of transgender. That's different than pronouns. But then just for most people, it's just feeling a little bit awkward and unsure and not wanting to hurt or offend somebody.
Well, why is it important for educators to teach about gender identity, gender presentation, and pronouns? Why do you think that's important?
Because there is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex, and then there's gender, and that's a social construct in the sense that just because you're born biologically a female doesn't mean you automatically want to vacuum, for instance, which is usually a feminine activity. Or
how stupid is that? She literally hit him with the boom house.
Boom, man, that old cow flight all tell you what, man, you want to get a flying cow, man.
That's what she just
load
said.
Up them dynamite and old cannon like that, they go to boom, man, that old cow flight all tell you what, man.
That's all she said. I fucking vacuum. My wife vacuums. My 8-year-old daughter vacuums. The only reason why my son don't vacuum is because our vacuum is so old and it's so fucking heavy, he probably kill himself trying to move it. What kind of shit is that? Well, then everybody want to put a vacuum in your hand. Bitch, everybody vacuums. The motherfucker who made the best vacuum out, Dyson, is a man. So how the fuck is that something that's a female thing? You see how stupid that is? The motherfucker who invented the vacuum was a man. So how the fuck is that a feminine thing? Makes no fucking sense. She's literally just making shit up.
Conflated that way. born biologically a female doesn't mean you automatically want to vacuum, for instance, which is usually a...
How many, and I'm going to tell you this right now, how many of us as children, especially those that was born in the 70s, how many of us, boys and girls, had that little vacuum cleaner that had the little pop-up bubbles in it where to pop the balls up and make that little noise like pop, 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 pop. How many of us had that? I know I had one. My nephews, I have 4 nephews. They had one. They all had those. We all had those, boys or girls. A vacuum is a fucking tool used in a household to clean. What kind of shit is that? That's just like saying, yeah, women don't usually mop, but men do. What? The fuck you talking about? A mop is a cleaning tool. Right, cuz fuck the carpet. This is for women only. This is a woman only thing here. This vacuum is just... What the fuck difference does that make? My nephew loved the vacuum. He couldn't even say the word vacuum. Shout out to my nephew Martin. He called the motherfucking vacuum a baga. A baga. Loved it. Right now he's living as a man. Last I checked. Got a ghetto Rick Ross beard. I mean, it ain't really shaped up and glistening all the time. It's there, but it ain't like right. Get your shit right, nephew. I still love you. But I'm just saying, why would she even say something? It just goes to show how they're not just, they have no facts. They have no concrete saying, hey, this is what it is based on this science, based on these facts. This is how it is. They're just like, well, right? I mean, it's a construct. And they use those hot words, those hot phrases. It's a construct. And, being in the construct is society and it's societal, right? So then, right? And when you have a society and you have the construct there, people are talking about the construct. You can identify in several different ways. So the ways you identify with the construct is different from the way I identify with the construct. And therefore, the construct should be changed because it's just a social construct that's identifying what we identify as, and the way we identify and the way you identify can be quite different. And we don't want to offend those who identify as a different identifier when it comes to the construct of identification, right?
And you want to get a flying cow, man, you go load up them dynamite in an old can like that, they go to boom, man, the old cow fly all. Tell you what, man, you want to get a
Is that not the same fucking thing? Right. Deb said, also, I had a G.I. Joe. I guess I'm gay. Right. My cousin Helene, shout out to you, cuz, if you watch it. My cousin Helene used to want to play with the Billy D. Williams Lando Calrissian Star Wars dial. She hated Star Wars. She didn't have nothing to do with Star Wars, but she loved her some Billy D. Williams, and she just used to sit and just look at the little Billy D. figurine. Now, me and my cousins and them, we playing Star Wars. We got Boba Fett out there. We got R2-D2, C-3PO, not Lando, but Han Solo, Luke, everything. Yoda, we got the pieces and all that shit. She just wanted to sit and just watch us play, and she just sat there with the Lando Calrissian figurine in her hand. So I guess she wanted to be a guy? Based on y'all fucking logic?
Feminine activity or conflated that way. And so it's this idea of giving children in age-appropriate ways an understanding that that these things aren't set in stone. Gender identity is not tied to biology.
You say that gender's not set in stone.
It's not.
What do you mean?
I mean that's just factually incorrect saying that. So you have biology is the chromosomal makeup and reproductive organs and all of that. And so that would be sort of the nature side of things. But the nurture side of things is where we see more of gender identities.
She began by...
That makes no fucking sense, man. And I'm surprised nobody just said, that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, ma'am. We have the nature side of things and the nurture side of things. Are you fucking kidding me, ma'am? Really? And, the fact that, what you are, biologically, and then what you are, those are two different things. How, Sway? How? She's literally just like running a bunch of words together. She's not coming with, well, here's the statistical facts of what we're talking about. Here's how this happens. Here's how we get here. Here's why we're saying what we're saying. None of that. It's just, well, the nature side versus the nurture side. It's the non-GMO versus the GMO. It's like the natural peanut butter versus the regular peanut butter. It's kind of like the Jiffy versus the Skippy. It's like it's they're kind of different, and she's literally just saying a bunch of shit, and everybody's just sitting there like, nobody's saying, well, wait, hold on, that don't make any sense, ma'am. Well, it's kind of like, the Crayola markers versus the Crayola crayons. The marker is more of a permanent type of tool, and then you have the crayons, they're more of a waxy type of tool. You can color with both, but the construct is I should be able to choose whichever I want to use, crayons or markers. But society is making us choose. Bitch.
Saying that my view is extreme. Okay, so the view that every single person on Earth has held up until 15 seconds ago is extreme, and the view that almost everyone does right now still holds as extreme, apparently, according to her. But there is this they are conflating.
Yeah, you're right. You don't make any sense. You don't make any sense. And they're all, and the thing is, and what's so scary is that they're all trying to laugh this into reality. They're all trying to just keep saying it into reality, which is another reason why I did this show. You're trying to speak this into reality, but you have no facts. You're just going to keep saying it until it's true. You're just going to keep saying it until I believe it. Are you fucking kidding me? And nobody's saying, well, hold on now. There's no data. There's no facts. There's no science to this in what you're saying. If a motherfucker over here can show me the breakdown of water and prove to me that this is water and why it's water, and show me the scientific makeup of what that is and how that comes to be, and you're just telling me, oh, well,
Gender and sex, because on one hand they say, well, you got your biological sex, but then your gender is whatever social construct. But then they turn around and say that trans women are women. So a man who identifies with the gender, the social construct of womanhood, actually is a woman. So if you
and that's all they do. You clearly see that's all they do. They're just laughing. A trans woman is a real woman. I'm trans dinosaur. Yeah, I'm actually, I was born a man, but I feel as though in my side, I'm a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex. So therefore, hey, I'm an endangered species, and therefore I should be entitled to all types of endangered species rights and privileges. And yes, someone needs to build me a Jurassic Park today. Right, Deb. Rawr. Can't you tell by my little T-Rex arms that I'm a T-Rex? I mean, come on. Is those some velociraptors over there? Oh, hey. And everybody's just giggling, looking like this motherfucker, thinking that that's okay. We're teaching this in school. We're saying this on national television. Dr. Phil, who's a fucking doctor, isn't even weighing in on this. He's just sitting back going and saying, oh, okay, so you think you've done that? What does that mean? Oh, if you say nothing, you don't answer my question? Oh, I'm not going to challenge that. I'm just going to keep going. Yeah.
You can laugh all you want, but this is a logical problem. You are conflating sex and gender just by saying that. So that's the problem.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because...
The same reason why you do, bitch, obviously, if you're trying to get me to believe this fake shit. And how about, let's stick to facts? Especially when it's dealing with kids.
It's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, yeah, can I answer that?
And they all just clap. Part of me wants to know, why do you care? Like, that's a fucking real question?
I'd love to answer that question. I care about the truth. So basic truth matters. I want to live in a society where people care about the truth and we're grounded in truth. I care about children, and these insane ideas about gender are being foisted on kids, and that bothers me quite a bit. I care about the women who are having their.
I'm gonna run this one more time.
There's the extreme approach that you are.
I gotta go to the bathroom
taking.
before I wrap it up.
And then there's also just ordinary people that might not be comfortable with the language change. And it just is awkward. And so they're afraid of not being courteous or being accepting. So there's like these two things. There's actually combating and not being, you don't like transgender, the idea of transgender. That's different than pronouns. But then just for most people, it's just feeling a little bit awkward and unsure and not wanting to hurt or offend somebody.
Well, why is it important for educators to teach about gender identity, gender presentation, and pronouns? Why do you think that's important?
Because there is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex, and then there's gender, and that's a social construct in the sense that just because you're born biologically a female doesn't mean you automatically want to vacuum, for instance, which is usually a feminine activity or conflated that way. And so it's this idea of giving children in age-appropriate ways an understanding that that these things aren't set in stone. Gender identity is not tied to biology.
You say that gender's not set in stone.
It's not.
What do you mean?
I mean that's just factually incorrect saying that. So you have biology is the chromosomal makeup and reproductive organs and all of that. And so that would be sort of the nature side of things. But the nurture side of things is where we see more of gender identities.
She began by saying that my view is extreme. Okay, so the view that every single person on Earth has held up until 15 seconds ago is extreme. And the view that almost everyone does right now still holds extreme, apparently, according to her. But there is this they are conflating gender and sex because on one hand they say, well, you got your biological sex, but then your gender is whatever social construct. But then they turn around and say that trans women are women. So a man who identifies with the gender, the social construct of womanhood, actually is a woman. So if you can laugh all you want, but this is a logical problem. You are conflating sex and gender just by saying that. So that's the problem.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Oh yeah, can I answer that?
So here's my thing. Great question. Gasperi, I don't know this long name. Why is she laughing so much? Why are they laughing so much? Basically it's like a glitch in their programming. It's a glitch in their programming. Just like when you have people who are trying, and that's why I always tell you, if you ever talking with somebody or someone is ever talking to you and they're explaining to you and what their point is and they're using the word right all the time, so like, we're all human, right? And we're trying to get, basically a discussion together about gender, right? And gender is a construct, right? And they're trying to bolster their point because they're saying right so much because they don't believe it. They don't have the confidence in it. They're laughing because it's a trigger that they're doing because they literally can't prove their point. They cannot prove their point. That's why they're laughing, and that's why she took that shot at him. I will say this, my man Matt Walsh, I don't know who the fuck you are, dude, sir. He killed they ass. 1 against 3 and a possible. Phil is the possible. He killed, 4 and a possible. Because I forgot about Arlo ass. He killed these people. I'm going to tell you like this. They could have had 2 more motherfuckers up there against Matt, and he still would have killed them. He made 3 concrete fucking points that they could not dispute. And the only thing they could do was not say anything to counter or to do what you see here. Giggling. Laughing. That's all it is. They're laughing. I mean, I just want to know, why do you care so much? Oh, the fact that you're sitting here fucking lying and you're making up shit and what you're doing is impacting children? I think that's enough. And when he hit him with that, I care about children, I care too. Right. You care about manipulating the fuck out of them. That's what you care about. Why would you introduce something that is so new and so unfounded to children? Why would you do that? Why would I go and try to teach something that I cannot prove and that is so unfounded? Why would I want to influence that and impose that on children? I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to call a thing a thing. The only reason why I would do something like that is because I want to manipulate them. And I want them to continue to further my agenda. That's why we have situations now where hoes are winning. That's why we have hot girl summer, because we as society made it okay for women to do ratchet fuck shit. And the fact that we didn't say anything against it or say anything about it, and we didn't shame it and didn't call it out, it got to the point to where it's common for most girls, most women to behave as hoes because they see hoes are winning. They don't get shamed. They can raise a bunch of ain't shit kids. They can put kids in fucked up situations. Society will find a way to make an excuse for them. Exactly. Why does that bearded man have big old hoop earrings on that don't identify as woman? So that they can have that attention. I'm going to be the most extreme so that I can get the most attention. I'm going to have this part of me like a man, this part of me like a woman, this part of me like a woman, this part of me like, that's what they're doing. I want it to be so confusing that pretty soon you're going to start seeing them do the half face. You're going to pretty soon see them doing the half face. Oh, this side will be made up like a woman and this side will look like a man. Watch you see one. Mark my words, you going to see one. She got the bearded lady looking vibe right now, but mark my words, you will see one that got the half face. But that's what it is.
I'd love to answer that question. I care about the truth. So basic truth matters. I want to live in a society where people care about the truth and we're grounded in truth. Right. I care about children.
Why she waving them off? Because he's killing it. He's killing her points and her arguments. He ain't called her out her name. He ain't made no sly ass remarks or no, I kind of want to know why you be concerned about it in the first place. Bitch, we on the show debating it. What the fuck are you talking about? Why would I not be here having this conversation if I'm not concerned about it? I got kids, bitch. I want to know what kind of future my children are going to be living in.
And these insane ideas about gender are being foisted on kids. And that bothers me quite a bit. I care about the women who are having their opportunities stolen from them. I care quite a bit, yeah.
Ooh, she ain't got shit to say behind that. Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. He killed it.
A champion.
He killed it. I was going to find the whole thing, but I said that'd be just too goddamn long. But I will end it with this because we right at 2:30. Excuse me. It has to be a thing to where we have to stop letting whatever group, whether it's, I even saw somebody in the chat earlier say this is all Democratic stuff. Nope. When it comes to this manipulating kids shit, nope. It's Democrats, it's Republicans, that shit. Nah. It's a thing to where we have to look at what is truth, what are facts, what's the science behind it, and we have to say, hey, this is where we draw the line. This is what we're going to stand for. And it's going to take not just the men, but it's going to take the women too to speak up against these homosexuals, these gays, all of these people that's trying to conflate this shit. You can live whatever lifestyle you gonna live. But when you're trying to conflate this shit and trying to unlearn and relearn society, that's when I call bullshit. That's when I pump the brakes and say, hold the fuck up. That's what I'm saying. We have to say, no, wait a minute. You can live the way you want to live. But when you start to try to change kids, too much. When you started trying to make me change what the fuck I do and what the fuck I say, you're doing too much. You want to go and live as a fucking turtle? By all means, go do that. This is America. But don't think that it's your job to get an agenda to where the entire world, and you got to start teaching kids about living like a turtle and what it's like. Well, I want to give children just a chance if they want to live like a turtle. You don't let children make adult decisions, and you don't put children in adult situations. And that's exactly what they're doing. And that's the problem I have with this. Now, I did say earlier that there's a part of that I did not understand and was trying to understand it. Absolutely. But the part about this that I don't like is that y'all got kids in this shit. That's bullshit. It is what it is. So you guys, please feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody that donated. If you are watching this on the replay, please feel free to donate and hit that Cash App and that whatchamacallit, that PayPal. That's in the description box and it's pinned in the chat as well. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and giving me the opportunity to speak about this. Sorry that the show started so late. I just had a long day. And shout out to them 49ers for beating them Packers. I appreciate y'all. But for anybody else, like I said, if you want to leave your thoughts and opinions on this, please be respectful. You don't have to, be disrespectful to make a point. Articulate yourself and just say what it is that you feel and what's on your heart. I understand. And hey, let's just use logic, truth, and facts when we talking. I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you guys. I love y'all. Y'all have a great night. Shout out to Matt Walsh. Great job, sir. And I'm really questioning old Dr. Phil, man. I think he's just like, he's old to the point where he don't want no trouble and he doing whatever they telling him now. But it is what it is. Everybody got to get a check. I love y'all. Till next time. Peace. And I'm out.
What's going on, everybody out there in the internet world? It's me, Brian Redmond, also known as the Relationship Rehab. And I need you to do two things. What are those two things? Subscribing to both my channels. I need you to go to the Relationship Rehab, subscribe to that channel, and then I need you to go to United Guns of America and go to that channel. Now you may be asking, why would I do that, Brian? Because it's two of the hottest channels on the internet. Come over there, give me your thoughts, give me your opinions, have conversations, because that's what it's all about. We talk about some of everything. Politics, relationships, guns, law enforcement, community stuff. Anything that's happening, I'm willing to have a conversation about it. So come on over. You don't got nothing else to lose, and you ain't got nothing else to do. So come to my channel, subscribe ASAP, and join in on the fun. Twice the entertainment, 2 channels, twice the fun. Come on and have a funky good time with your boy. Peace, and I'm out.